But today is a very special Sunday. Today is not just Good Shepherd Sunday. This is our Sunday where we are updating you on our parish visioning process. And I'm just going to take 5 minutes at the beginning of the service to share our findings from our first session. So if any of you have arrived to St. Paul's since we started this process, welcome. Just to bring you all up to date, in February, over 45 members of our congregation met to talk about our congregation's future as part of a parish-wide visioning process. And what you're going to see on the slides is a snapshot of what we heard. We had hoped that there would be some helpful information, and those hopes have been borne out. They've helped to identify some key strengths in our church, areas where there is shared passion as congregational members, as well as some identified growth areas for us. Next slide. So first, a series of questions was put to those 45 parishioners. What brings joy, hope, and a sense of success for you as members of this parish? They identified new energy and growth. At this service, when we first reopened after all the pandemic lockdowns, there were about 18 to 20 people, and now Sunday by Sunday it's more like 28 to 35. And the same growth is happening at the 10 a.m. in addition to growth with our children's ministry. St. Paul's community was, so the people in the church, friendships and fellowship and time together was seen as a source of joy and hope. Music and worship. Now, music in particular was emphasized as a strength in this parish, so thank you to Bonnie Thompson at this service for our musicians here this morning, as well as Joanne Karam, our music director. So worship together as a congregation through music, as well as teaching and preaching, were identified as sources of joy and hope. And then children and youth ministry, which we see spoken about again and again in the different categories as a source of joy and hope. We don't see the children at this service, but at the 10 a.m. when they're called forward to head down to Sunday school, it's a moment of real lift for us as worshipers. Next slide. The other question is, how does St. Paul's equip believers and grow disciples? People indicated small groups as an important way where people grow in their relationship to Jesus. Opportunities for learning together, special guest speakers, they mentioned the St. Paul's College. That was something that was done historically. But opportunities for learning together were flagged as really important for discipleship. Alpha was mentioned. Music and worship, and again, music was emphasized as a place where people feel they grow in their relationship with Jesus Christ. And then lastly, the examples of our leaders. And I don't think that includes just the clergy or the staff. I think that really is lay leaders as well. It's just the leadership at St. Paul's. Next slide. So St. Paul's core strengths, and I love these. Look at that, faith, focus, and prayer. We are a Jesus-loving, Jesus-following community, and our faith and walk with Jesus is sustained by the power of the Holy Spirit as we worship and pray. I don't know that I've been in any other Anglican church where prayer was so central a part of a church community, and this is definitely a strength. Leaders were listed. I said I was going to tell my kids, I am so fun. the character preaching, fun and approachable. They will tell you I'm not. Diversity of membership. The people who came to this session talked about how much they appreciated the diversity in culture, age, race, church backgrounds. Somebody who came to the meeting said, we look like Pickering. And that's healthy. That's the way it should be. We should look like our neighborhood. And again, music and worship. In all categories, music was identified as a place where people's hearts and minds are touched and they leave encouraged and are enabled to worship Jesus in spirit and in truth. Our children, youth, and family ministry, I was glad to see that even with all the changes in our congregation, we are definitely a different church than we were in 2019 when we went into the pandemic. But the historic valuing of children, youth, and family ministry remains firm. Zoom, and I would say we got this from the diocese. This was they compiled all the information from the sessions. This was led not by any of the staff here, but people outside our church. They spoke that we do online ministry well, and that there have been some good opportunities for learning during the pandemic, but as well for accommodating people with different work schedules. There are areas where we need to grow. So next slide, thank you, Bill. One of our growth areas is welcoming ministries. Even though many people spoke about St. Paul's community as a place of hope and encouragement, others said, my experience of welcome was not that great. No one spoke to me. It was hard to get to know people. And so this was identified by these 45 plus parishioners as an area where we can be challenged to grow, because certainly hospitality, God's own hospitality, is the kind of thing that we are invited to extend to others around us in the pews and as they come through our church doors. Music and worship, across the board, it was identified as a strength. And of course, if you've been a longtime member of the church, you'll know that we used to have 3 services. There was a lot of patience expressed, as well as an encouraging of continuing to explore new styles of music. There was a lot of appreciation of the rebooting of a band. So that was identified as a longing and encouragement to grow in diversity in music. Community life, that's an area that people are really missing, fellowship. People are missing connection with other members, socials, and so on. And that may connect to welcoming ministries. Leadership expectations. The clear message was build sustainably and don't race ahead. So that was a message, I think, to the staff as well as to the wardens, but that was the point around leadership expectations. Youth and young adult ministries was identified as a growth area, especially with young adults. Our youth go off to university and we don't see them back again. And lastly, Zoom. Zoom in particular, are there ways that we can connect better with those who are joining us on worship online and those who are at home, restricted at home? So now what? That's the feedback from our first session. The now what is, we need you. We need your input because we are listening to the congregation, trusting that the Holy Spirit is guiding us as a whole community as to the future of St. Paul's. We need to understand the heart of this congregation. And so on your invitation cards is the date of our second and last session. You do not need to have gone to the first session in order to participate in this one. These are standalone sessions. And what we're looking for is to hear your perspectives and where you see the Holy Spirit leading in our congregation. The dates are on the slot, Thursday, May 9th in person, and by Zoom for those who can't attend any of those 3 sessions. You can sign up in the narthex, and I really hope to see at least 10 more names on the list. And Esther and Marilyn, I'll invite you to come out afterwards and encourage people to sign up as they exit. If you can't sign up this morning, you can email Amaka at the church office.